Okay. Well. Jess, can you make me a co-host? Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hi, Tosin. Welcome, everybody.
How's it going today?
Good. How are you doing?
Great, not bad. It's been
That's
busy.
good.
Excited to be at the best part of the day today.
Okay, that's good. I agree.
Yeah.
Hi, Nuna. How are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm good. How is everybody?
Good. We're good. Thank you. Hi, David.
Hello.
Hi, Karim. Welcome, everybody. I know we've got a few people in attendance right now. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. Everyone is just joining us, so we'll get started soon. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in the chat. We'll get things rolling in just a couple of minutes. We're right at 6 o'clock Ontario time, so we'll get started soon. We're just waiting on one more of our panelists. I hope everyone's having a really good evening. If it's evening, it's still I'm coming to you from Calgary, so it's only 4 o'clock. There's still daylight for me, which is nice. For all of our attendees today, we are going to use Slido. So up on the screen, you'll see the code for Slido, or you can just use the QR code as well. We're going to use chat. We're going to use Slido more than chat. So please join us over in Slido as well. What we want to know right now is where you're logging in from. Somewhere across the country. So please use Slido. We'd love to get a sense of who's in the room with us today. Oh, perfect. Ottawa. We've got a few people from Ottawa. In Toronto currently, but Winnipeg based. Okay. I hope Toronto's treating you well. Montreal, Waterloo. Oh, now there's a few more Torontonians joining us today.
Brampton.
Yeah, hey. Welcome. If you're just joining us, we are going to use Slido today as well during our panel discussion. So please join us over in Slido. We are just asking everyone in Slido to share with us where you're logging in from and where you're joining. Hey, Calgary. I've got a fellow Calgarian in the space. Welcome. It's a nice day today. It started off horrible. It was so cold and windy and rainy, and now it's sunny. Still windy though, but it's better than what it was. Welcome, everybody. Well, I think we're going to get started. We might give it one more minute. Anyone else joining us, please join us over in Slido. We're going to use it throughout the next couple of hours. We want to get your opinion, get your engagement, and have you be part of the discussion today. So thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks so much. I'm going to get us started. We've got a full agenda ahead of us. We've got some incredible panelists to engage in conversation. So first of all, I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. Really important for us at Mentor Canada and at the BBPA to spend some time and reflect. Not only to acknowledge the lands to which we live, work, and play. I know we're coming from right across the country today. And so I really wanted to take a moment, and one of our Indigenous colleagues really shared with me around land acknowledgements from about a year ago. And his comment to me was around, yeah, we can make a statement acknowledging the land. But what he really felt was an appropriate and really important part of land acknowledgement is that we each take some time throughout our day, and maybe over the next day, is to get outside and to enjoy the land and to appreciate, to take it in, breathe, enjoy the sun, enjoy the rain if it's raining, and enjoy the fall colors. So I want to acknowledge that. So if you can take a moment over the next little while and acknowledge where you're living and the lands that are traditional territories in this country, that would be really wonderful. So I'm hoping that you can just take that time. We also, I do want to acknowledge as well that the lands that we're living on, that there's a great deal of our Canadian citizens that are also of African descent. And that's a really important piece for us to also recognize, not only our Indigenous heritage, but also our African citizens and our colleagues and our neighbors that have come to Canada as well. So I want to take some time just to recognize that as well. So thank you for taking a moment. Go enjoy our great, beautiful land of Canada and who we are. We've got a full-fledged scope of, we're going to do a tour together, and we've got some incredible panelists. We're going to do some introductions around who's sitting on our panel today, who these subject matter experts are. Then we're going to do some introductions. We're going to have a really beautiful conversation, a really in-depth conversation with our panelists. And there will be an opportunity for all of you to also engage. So that's an important piece as well. So we really want to create some space for the young leaders that are in the session today to also engage with our panelists. And then we'll do some closing at the very end, ask you for some of your opinions, share some resources with you. So we're going to get started. I want to take some time as well for you to get to know me and Tosin. So we're going to start over there. As I shared, I'm Tracy Luca-Huger. I'm the Executive Director at Mentor Canada. We've been doing a great deal of work at Mentor Canada to not only broaden opportunities around mentorship for young leaders and young Canadians, but to further engage more individuals into the mentoring space. Really thrilled to continue our work with BBPA. We've been working with the BBPA for the last 3 years around mentorship and further expanding and increasing opportunities for young Black leaders to engage and have the opportunities to engage in mentoring. I'm going to hand it over to my dance partner, Tosin, to introduce himself.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're logging in from. My name is Tosin, and today, so I run a startup called Welcome You, but today I'll be wearing my BBPA hat. I'm part of the board of directors at the BBPA, and our goal, just like Tracy has mentioned here, is to help Black entrepreneurs, Black young professionals, understand the power of mentoring, have a place in the society at the table, especially with entrepreneurship, different programmings, and all the different resources that can help you be successful in the community that we have today, and also feel like you have a place, you have a voice, and that's pretty much what we do. There's so many programs that we offer at the BBPA to Black entrepreneurs. And I mean, even from some of these conversations, there are a lot of questions that we have, a lot of amazing stuff that you're going to pack out of this that you can refer back to either Mentor Canada or the BBPA to help facilitate and further those conversations. So sit tight. It's going to be an interesting conversation. We have an amazing panel today, and we look forward to the engaging conversations.
Thanks so much, Tosin. Tosin and I have been on a journey together, and we continue to host Power of Mentoring events together. So it's we both were commenting earlier that it's the highlight of our day. So I'm excited to engage this panel, Tosin. So we're going to get started.
Okay.
Again, for the young leaders and our attendees, if you're joining us right now and didn't get a chance to hear, we're going to use Slido. You can use the QR code. You can join us at slido.com and enter in the code as well if you're on a laptop. Please go over there. We really want to find out who you are. Are you currently in school? Are you just starting your career? Are you currently exploring options? We want to hear from you about who's in the space with us, who are the young people that we're talking to today.
Currently in school, I see. Exploring opportunities. Okay. There we go.
Lots in school. That's great.
That is great. That is great because you have the opportunity to learn from a lot of these people on the panel who have passed through the steps that you're going to go through. So that's interesting. That's cool.
Absolutely. And lots who are exploring options. And I loved that. I'm so glad that you attended today because this really is about career exploration and looking at opportunities for your future. So really excited about that too. So when you think about entrepreneurship, what is the first word that comes to mind?
I'm interested in this one.
I know, me too, because I would be like, oh, fear. Fear would be one of mine.
I know, money, ideas. Ooh, that's great. Leadership, business. Okay. Okay. Hi, Osas. Can you use Slido? We want to see your response on the screen, just so everybody can share. Yep.
Yeah.
Independence. I love independence.
I like the money part too. That's good. Innovation, business, and money. Well, we're going to hear from our panelists to see if there's a lot of money and what the sweat is all about, and if that pays off at the end of the day. Leadership and problem solving. Wow, that's a great one. Mentorship. Yeah. Thanks for throwing in that mentorship piece. What we want to do is we want to introduce you to our panel today. And so we've got some really incredible panelists with us and joining us. Kessia will be joining us in a bit. So we're going to get started. And what we want to do, first of all, is I don't want to introduce the panelists. I want them to introduce themselves because hearing from them really is key. And we want to give them the space. And so what we'd like to do, we want to do a speed round of questions to get to know each of our panelists beyond their titles. We want to hear that too, beyond your resume and beyond your LinkedIn profile. And so what we want to do is find out a bit more about an overview of your current role and the day in a life of your work. And so, Nunu, if you could get started for us, we'd love to hear about what is the Black Entrepreneurship Alliance, what you're currently doing in your career, and what's the day in the life of Nunu?
Okay. Hi everybody. Welcome. I'm super excited to be here. So the Black Entrepreneurship Alliance is a co-initiative between Black Creek Community Health Center as well as York University's Y Space. And what we do in a nutshell is help support Black entrepreneurs in 3 different sectors: food, beverage, tech as well as agnostic, so community, and we provide fully funded programs. So we don't take equity from any of the founders that we're with. And we do this again by supporting our community. We have skill development through our learning community, which again is free for everybody to explore, and just through a lot of community engagement. So what we do is we're just really here to amplify and advance the next generation of Black entrepreneurs. That's the Black entrepreneurship in a nutshell. In terms of my day-to-day, I'm always in meetings, always in calls, always at events, meeting founders, talking to founders, figuring out ways to help the current founders that are in our programs. And specifically for myself, I'm the tech program officer with BEA. So I deal with a lot of tech ventures. So people that have technology or tech-like businesses, that's what I mainly focus on. And we focus on making sure that, you know, they're raising, they're making money with investors, you know, things like that, making sure that their go-to market strategy looks great. That just their overall business models are looking great, and just really watching them scale. So that's what I do. But a day in a life for me is crazy. I think that's the best word I can say it. It's a very fun job. Every day is different, and I'm always on the go. So that's the main thing. I'm always on the go. I don't have any real downtime. I don't even think I have boundaries right now, which is not great. I don't want you guys to follow. Please have boundaries. But yes.
No, clearly there's passion. And so that I think we'll explore a bit more, but you are dynamic. That's what I know about you. I haven't had a great deal of time to spend with you, but dynamic and passionate about what you do. And that energy really fuels you to keep going.
Yes, exactly.
I want to know, what do you look forward to each day when you show up to work?
Honestly, each day I just look forward to knowing that I can support somebody's passion and help them scale. That's the main thing that I really honestly look forward to, is that I do something that helps me change. I don't want to sound cheesy, but kind of change the world, you know, because these ventures that the different founders come up with, they're life-changing. Some of them are dealing in med tech, some of them are dealing with environmental things that really focus on helping our environment or helping our world. So I just love being a part of the journey and making sure that they're getting these resources, the tools, and all of these things that they need to succeed.
Love it. I love it. I love hearing that you want to be part of the journey, because that is really what mentorship is about as well. Okay, before we move on, because Tosin's getting impatient with me because he wants to engage some of the panelists. What is one show, book, podcast, or gem that you are either enjoying, reading, engaging with right now?
Ooh, so I have to be honest. I'm having a really difficult time not really engaging with non-work related content. Decompressing is a little bit tough, especially when you have so many ideas and you work with so many people, and around the clock you're constantly engaging with them and talking to them, and you want to genuinely help. So I'm having a little bit of a hard time. I do have to set some boundaries, like I had mentioned before, but I'm an anime girl, so if I need something mindless, I'm gonna jump to anime. I do love a good documentary, and right now there's a Curiosity Chronicles by Sahil Bloom, which somebody just recently put me onto, and it's just really about life. Just how to be a better human. That's really what it's about. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on right now. I'm not reading anything right now, but just really engaging with documentaries and my anime. That's it.
I love it. I love it. It's so important given all the things that are happening in the world on how to be a better human right now. So thanks for sharing that. Tosin, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I was just relating so much to what, because as an entrepreneur myself, a lot of things Nunu said were things I was just like, yep. So anyways, thanks for sharing. So we'll move on to David. David is the founder of OutreachGenius.ai. So David, please just tell us about your role and what a day in your life looks like.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here. Always love being part of this kind of conversations, and takes me back memory lane when I was on the other side of the table, kind of like looking at this amazing, impressive people. It's like, oh, one day I'll be like them. So it's kind of nice to be here as well. So I'm a founder of OutreachGenius.ai. So we're an AI company. So I have a software engineering background. And I sort of, over the last couple of years, I run a marketing agency. And then I didn't like the tools that we're using to solve our marketing problems. So I'm like, I'm just going to build my own. And here we are, I built mine. So what does my day look like? Solving problems all day long. It is exciting in some way, but most times it's very just like, oh, another problem again. For example, we found that someone's our platform right now, someone seems to be hacking it. So I'm kind of working with my software development team right now to get to the root of the problem. Why we're being hacked, how can we fix it to make sure this doesn't happen again? So that's what I face every day. So usually all my days is basically calls all day. I'm either on sales calls, trying to get your customers, calls with my team, trying to give them directions on what to do or problems that they bring to me to solve. And then usually I'm on call with our clients, trying to find out, are you happy? What can we do to improve your experience? So calls all day, calls all day. I do love it. I love it. I live for it. So it's not bad at all. I wake up every day feeling like, okay, what problems are we going to solve today? And, the problems comes at us. And after a long day of solving problems, I feel good. I feel like, you know what? I've accomplished something today. I've solved a lot of problems, and that just keeps me energized. So that's what my day typically look like. Tosin, I think that was two of your questions. Was there any other?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, that was great. And you mentioned something around seeing people on panels like this and you being excited to be on this panel. So that's just super in line with the next question is, who has influenced you the most in your career? Any speakers, or who has influenced you the most in your entrepreneurial career?
So, I mean, I'm going to give the cliche answer. It's really very honest. My cliche answer was, growing up, I was influenced by Steve Jobs and Bill Gates of the world, building softwares and building companies, but most importantly, impacting the world at a large scale. Like software was their hammer to make a dent on the universe, if you will. And for me, I was like, oh, I want to have such massive impact in the world. And one of the easiest ways, easy being a relative term, but one of the easiest ways to make a big impact is software, because software is one of the levers of leverage where you can, build a software, and whether it's 10,000 people using it or one person using it or 1 million people using it, you're not doing any more work. And I love that concept of leverage. So for me, looking at the titles of software, I was just very inspired from a young age, and it drove me to where I am right now. Without their accomplishments, I wouldn't be able to see what is possible with the power of software. So it's not cliche because everybody's big idols are, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, but they really were very impactful for my own journey.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I 100% resonate with that as well. So my next question for you is, what is one show, book, or podcast that you've enjoyed lately?
So my podcast, every time I do go for my morning runs every morning, and the podcast of choice every morning. Well, actually, there are two. I have to share two. The first one is called My First Million by Sam Parr and Sean Puri. I don't know if you know about My First Million. Amazing podcast, just talking about business ideas, everyday business, just the hustle, the grind, and of course, interviewing successful entrepreneurs that inspire you. So for me, that's a great one. And that one is called Founders. And Founders is basically a deep dive into just a story of entrepreneurs, more from like a historical perspective. They talk about everybody from Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, obviously, to the founders of Dior, or like fashion brands. It's really talking about the stories of all of these big brands. You see what's going on behind the scene, the rise of these entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are not born, they are made. And it basically talks about how entrepreneurs are made, which obviously I want to apply to my own life and be inspired by them. When it comes to books, I will say The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. That's a very inspiring book for me. It's just wisdom distilled, philosophy and wisdom about business and life and happiness distilled into such very compressed into easy to digest bites. So there are many books, but that one has been very impactful for me. And then second book is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. So everything in this world is all about power and influence. Even as a business owner, you're trying to influence people, you're trying to own some power. Being an entrepreneur, you're trying to own power, being independent, your own power, right? And 48 Laws of Power talks about the laws of power, how power really works in the real world, how to get power for yourself, how to influence people with power, how to interact with people with power, all of the dynamics around that. And everyone is kind of shy around the topic of power. People want to feel humble, but at the end of the day, the reality is the world, power is what makes the world work, and you need to learn how to get power for yourself. So highly recommended The Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Tracy, over to you.
Thanks so much. Kezia, you're here and I can't wait for people to hear about your company, your role, and a day in the life of. I don't know. Kezia, can you hear us? Can you take yourself off mute?
Probably still going ahead there.
Yeah, maybe we've got some technical difficulties. So what I'll do is I'll hand it back to you, Tosin, and then hopefully we can get to Kezia.
Yep. Okay, awesome. So Kareem, it's your turn now. Maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself, what your role is, and what a day in Kareem's life is like.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm happy to be here. Excited to have this conversation tonight. So my name is Kareem Perez. I have a startup. It's called the Tech Effect. So we're a digital skills training organization. So we provide training for anybody who wants to either build a career in the digital space, so marketing, advertising, or technology, or if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to figure out how to leverage digital skills and digital marketing to grow your business. So I come from an agency background, 10 years working, with different agencies, working with a lot of different clients, big and small. And while I was working for those agencies, I also helped to train and develop a lot of young talent. So I'm very passionate about mentorship. And what I realize is working in the agency, the agency is trying to hire new talent, and there's like a disconnect between what they're looking for versus what the talent thinks the roles are about when they start coming in, right? So I started the Tech Effect to bridge that gap and connect companies with talent upcoming. And part of what we do is we provide training and mentorship so that the talent is ready when they get into the workforce. And and a day in the life, we do a lot of workshops and training, speaking engagements like this. So I could be doing virtual trainings or in person. We did a lot of things with the universities and high schools this year. We have a few things coming up. So it could be speaking engagements, also doing business generation. So talking to schools, finding out what they need, talking to entrepreneurs, finding out what skills they're looking to learn. And then developing content, right? So developing educational content around different topics such as digital marketing, technology, digital tools, and so forth. So a lot of like online meetings, in-person meetings, and a lot of time on the computer doing research and doing marketing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Kareem. I have a follow-up question for you, actually, because I'm sure you must have worked with quite a number of organizations to help them grow. Do you have a favorite one?
I do, yeah. So I usually do two truths and a lie, and this is part of one of my key points that I always use when I talk or do presentations. But they're called T Dot Performance,
Okay.
and they're an aftermarket car parts drop shipping company. And the reason I love this client, right, and this whole story is because they were two graduates. They graduated from George Brown, and I was working at the agency. I just kind of started, so I was junior at the time. And they came to the agency with a smaller budget, right? It was like $1,000 a month. A lot of clients are spending a lot more. Um, so they were like, yeah, we have this budget. We want to grow our business. And because I was junior, a lot of people were like, oh, you take them because they're like a small client, like no big deal, right? And yeah, so I worked with them. I worked together with them for 3 years. They started off spending 1,000. They ended up spending about 30,000 a month after 2 years. So of course, as we grew that, they made more money. And then in year 4, they went on Dragon's Den, and then they got a deal from Michelle Romanoff. So now they have like 15 employees. They kind of retired. They bought their parents a house, and we're still like pretty good friends. So yeah, I love that story, and just because the impact that it could have, marketing and business could, kind of change lives, like Nunu said previously. But also too, it was just interesting to see them grow from like a small idea into like a big business operation. So, you know, anything is possible.
Yep, absolutely. Sounds super amazing. So I mean, just the same question, the same second question everyone answered. What is one show, one book, one podcast that you'd like for us to recommend, just so we can grow businesses from 1,000 a month spent to 30,000?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I would say podcast wise, I don't really have a specific one. What I do is depending on the area. So if I want to learn more about finance or personal development, like I'll just try to at least listen to something in relation to like knowledge sharing that day. But then in terms of books, I'm rereading Atomic Habits, and I think I think it's a really good book, especially when it comes to careers and goal setting, or being an entrepreneur and setting goals. And the main reason I really like it is because it breaks down the habits associated with the goals, right? So a lot of times we're focused on, you know, getting to the millions or getting that top job or getting the president role, but you really have to focus on the habits that are going to get you there. And it really breaks it down in like actionable steps, and just like a good reminder that if you do the work and you trust the process, then you'll get to that eventual goal that you're looking for. So Atomic Habits is a good one, and yeah, if you read it before, I say just like always revisit it.
Okay, awesome. So Tracy, yep, I hand it back over to you.
Awesome. Kezia, I think
Good
you're
stuff.
here. I think we've worked
Yes.
through your technical issues. So that's so awesome.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you great.
Can you guys see me though?
No, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
Oh wow, I don't know why you guys can't see me, but yeah, I don't know. As you
We'll
to start
work
your
through
video.
that. We'll work through it. But let's oh, now we can see you. There we go. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So
I
we
saw
want
just
to hear, Kezia, we want to hear about your company and then a
Yep.
day in the life of Kezia in your company.
Sure. So my name is Kezia Osei, and I started my company, Keys to Your Home Renovations. It's a construction and renovations company. We remodel homes, additions. We do kitchens, basements, bathroom, all types of flooring, anything at all that has to do with home renovations. And I started my business in 2011. I started off as a general laborer, of course, a carpenter, rough carpenter. I used to build a lot of residential homes in the east side with Mattamy homes, with Coughlin homes, Tribute homes. So I've done a quite extensive work when it comes to building the exterior part of the home, and then I decided to get into the interior part, which I love so much. It's my passion every day. A day in the life of Keys to Your Home Rentals is waking up, meeting with clients, going to jobs. I've gone to the point where now I've trained like, two employees as to where like I can kind of leave them on the job and then I can go and start other work or meet with other clients and stuff. So it's pretty busy. It's pretty robust. I'm dealing with trades every day, different different subcontractors, and just having to budget, finance, content, and just materials that has to do with getting the whole project done on time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just inspiring to like have women come into the trade and explore the construction industry.
I love it. I love it. In leading a company, what's one of the core values that's most important to you?
In leading a company, I think one of the core values is building a team, having a team around you that understands the mission, understands the foundation, having meetings together with your employees and kind of building strong networks within my industry. So with other contractors, with other guys who are in the trades longer than I have and have more experience than me. I think those are key fundamentals in having a successful business and staying on top of your research, staying on top of your products, your materials. Things change every day. Every day they're bringing in something new, something better, something durable, more that's like basically the upgrades, you know what I mean? So it's basically just keeping on track with that, and just like never quitting, and just staying resilient, like resilient is something that I preach like down to the bone. And I just stay resilient, never quit. No matter how hard it is, there are gonna be hard times, 100%, and you will mess up on certain things, right? But it's all a learning experience. So definitely learning from your mistakes is definitely very important and vital for the growth of businesses. And just keeping a real honest character with people, with clients, customers. Like, I mean, being transparent and being honest, I think will really take your business far.
Fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. That was a lot of insight. So I'm glad we're recording this because I was making notes myself. Kezia, I want to know, what is one show, book, or podcast that you are listening to right now or that's resonating with you?
So I've read, which I'm going to go back and read again, is Think and Grow Rich. I know this is a book that everybody knows about, but the thing is, it's like you cannot read that book one day and that's about it. Like there's constant going back to reading the pages and stuff like that, and just that mindset of thinking and growing rich, right? Is putting yourself in that state where okay, well, you know your value, you know where you want to take your business, right? You have to have a big dream for your business, right? In order for it to go as far as you want. And so far as podcasts, I listen to just different podcasts depending on like what I feel like listening to at the moment. But I do listen to something on Clubhouse, and it's from a guy named Diraj, and he does like affirmations and stuff. So it's just basically um and I go to bed with it. Like this is how, like, the power of manifestations, when you go to bed and you have these things playing in your head, you are great, you are awesome, money belongs to you, or money loves you, or just little affirmations like that. I feel like it really grows the spirit, like even when you're sleeping. So that's what I listen to literally on basis, and I listen to like a daily guidance every day.
It's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
No worries.
Tosin, I'm gonna toss the ball back to you.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. I think that was really a great way to go about getting to know our panelists, because they shared way more than we could have probably read off any script. So thank you so much for sharing. So we'll be moving on to the first section of this conversation, which is around mindset and career exploration, reaching your potentials. So this is to the panel, and I mean, we'll engage in the conversation. So when you started your career or school or the different explorations, that life brings to you. So David, I have a question for you. So how has your career interest evolved throughout? How have the things you've been interested in evolved throughout your career?
Yeah, great question. So things have evolved for me based on just following my curiosity. So I believe in just being eternally curious about everything around me, starting from when I was young. Okay, I'm fascinated by, Microsoft and Apple and all those big, amazing companies. How do they do what they do? Well, they build software. Okay, how does software work? And then I started reading books. Oh, this is interesting. I remember very early on when I was probably like 14 or 13, I was building my first HTML website from like my scrappy computer. I remember back then, and just like coding away. I was like fascinated by pressing that, and the whole screen light up in colors. So just following my curiosity is what has led me to where I am right now. So the key question is, what are you curious about? And the way to find out what you're curious about is by trying new things. Well, go volunteer somewhere, go to new groups, go meet new people, talk to new people. And when you try new things, you'll be like, yeah, that sucks, I don't like it. And then you'll find that gold mine. Oh, that's very interesting. I didn't know I love this. And then you dive into that a little bit further, and then you start finding like, wow, this is so cool. This aligns with what I love and doing. And following your curiosity is what helps you really find a passion, which in turn will fuel your career forward.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Nunu, that same question. So how have your career interests evolved throughout your career leading up to this point?
I think it's very similar to David's as well. It's just really what I was passionate about. So I started off in the beauty sector, and that's just because, I like the makeup and things like that. But I was also very techy. I also did a lot of coding, the HTML websites, and marketing and all of these things. And I was like really excited about those things. And I decided to see what I can do with the knowledge that I kind of amassed by myself. And that led me to thinking about more schooling, because I was like, if I'm pretty good at this, I'm pretty sure there's things that I don't know while I'm being self-taught. So I took some courses at McMaster, then decided to go full-time with McMaster. And then before I knew it, I was more into the education field. And then I turned into the tech field. So it was just really what I was passionate about, things that interested me. And I just kind of, like, I'm one of those people that once I'm into something, I dig deep and I completely nosedive into it without remorse. So I think that's kind of the trajectory for me, was, again, exploring my passions and being unapologetic about it.
Okay, awesome. Wow, no, that's really a great answer. So Kezia, the next question is for you. So what are some challenges that you've encountered, and how can youth be resilient in their careers or in workspaces that might be male-dominated or non-traditional? And what has helped you walk through that?
Okay, well, the number one thing that has helped me through all of this, I would say, and I have to give thanks and praise to God, who has guided me through all the situations that I've been in. And being in the male dominated industry was I think almost like a shock for me too, because obviously coming into the trades, I didn't see under any other female that was like me. I didn't see, there was absolutely no other girl on the construction site working with any other crew and framing the houses up and building it up. So I knew that I was in this for I knew I was in this, and I was in it to conquer, because many times, I had to navigate through sometimes being disrespected on the site, meaning like jokes were made, comments made, and just even traps that were set for me. Like I said, I mentioned it the other time, like I actually fell from the second floor straight down to the main floor, and I was about a foot away from the basement, and hitting like pure concrete and gravel. So it's been a journey for me. And when I look back and I really see the moment that made me continue to push on is I was with a worker, and my boss, and actually I did something wrong, and then he said to me that you don't have the brains to do this. And when he said that, it was like some kind of explosion happened, like in my body, in my system, and I was like, I'm really gonna prove you wrong, right? Because one day you're definitely gonna work for me. And that was like a manifestation right there, and that's exactly what happened. Not him personally, but his father. His father came and put the steel beams in a house that I was building in Kawartha Lakes. And at that very moment, I stood there, and something came on me, and I was like, yo, you remember what you said 3 years ago? And I just it was just the feeling that I had was like, wow, like, you see, like, being resilient. I could have given up right then and there, because I took off my tool belt and I walked off the site. And I just want other females to know that, listen, there are going to be times when you have to face these things and just have a thick skin, because that sometimes it's the way where you're going to have to show that you have that alligator skin in order to navigate through. Like, I tried to stay away from complaining, stay away from making trouble, stay away from like making a big deal over a comment or a joke. When a joke was made, I made the joke right back. And then everybody start laughing, and then it just like you kind of have to like find your way. And the way I found my way was equaling myself to every guy that was there, and not see myself as anything lower, or not having the strength or the capability to do what they're doing. I could do the exact same thing. So sorry that I'm talking so long, but there's so much that question is so dear to me, because Like breaking barriers is the thing. Like, you have to be able to go through that fire to come out like gold, Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no, I mean,
love that.
thank you so much. And part of why we're putting a lot of this together is so you can share your experience, and a lot of people who are online can learn from them. So you're not talking too much. We're interested to hear this story. So thank you so much for answering that question that way, and sharing your actual lived experience. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Kareem, I want to ask you a question. I'm really curious to hear from you. What do you wish you would have known earlier in your career? You've had a really successful career, and looking back, what do you wish you would have known early?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. And I mean, just listening to Kezia speak, it was like along the same lines. It's really what I discovered, like a little bit later in my career when I got into senior management and kind of more into leading the companies or leading the company and the agency is that nobody has it all figured out, right? So sometimes you think that because it's the president or because it's the VP based on titles, or they've been there for 5-10 years, or they're senior to you, you feel like their ideas are right, or you have to kind of like go with what they say. So nobody has it all figured out, and it's not about, nothing is personal, right? Your ideas are valuable. Your opinions are valuable. So make sure you share them. And really it's about collective, collective success, right? So if you're working on a project or if you're working on an idea, the more you can collaborate and bring your ideas and hear other people's ideas, listen to what they've got to say, that you could come up with like a solution um, in that moment that is best for everyone, right? So like I used to work with like a lot of clients. I used to work with a lot of internal staff that's senior to me, right, that I had to report to portfolio wise. And I used to meet like a lot of VPs and owners of big companies and stuff. And I had to really like psych myself up at one point too, because I used to have like imposter syndrome. I used to think like, okay, these guys are, huge companies, and I'm just like the director at this marketing agency, I'm younger or whatever. And I didn't have that confidence, but I psyched myself up. I was like, no, you're just as good as them, right? Just as much as they do. So when you come into these rooms, like, just be yourself, just show them what you know. And so yeah, so and then as I got closer to management, and I started talking to like the VPs and the presidents and the owners, and they're like, yeah, we're trying to figure it out just like you are. Like, we don't have all the answers and stuff like that. So yeah, just thinking about that, like nobody has it all figured out, and it's always about like continuous learning and trying new ways to trying new solutions to old problems, right?
Yeah, I love that frame of mind, because nobody has it all figured out. And if you go in with that sort of frame of mind, then it allows you, I think, to have a voice at the table to go, look, they don't have it figured out. I have something to contribute, maybe a different perspective, different idea, different lived experience, different thought pattern with that. So I really, really love that. So thank you for sharing that, Krim, because I think so many times as young professionals, we get in those situations. It's like, okay, that's the word. Okay, I'm going with it, whether you agree with it or not. So it gives some permission. And I think that that's just really beautiful. So thanks for sharing that. What skills have been most critical for you in navigating your career and gaining success?
Yeah, I would say, problem solving, right? So problem solving, like every business, or, the reason a company would hire you is because they have a challenge, right? They have a problem and they need to solve it. So creative approaches to problem solving is definitely a huge skill. So, just like we were saying, coming up with ideas, sharing different perspectives, because again, everybody has their different lived experience to bring to the table. So problem solving is a huge one. I would say critical thinking is huge too. So being able to basically slice and dice information, right? And understand who your audience is, and how can you, disseminate information so that it's very easy for them to understand, make decisions. For me, like again, managing a lot of young professionals, what I always tell them is come with a recommendation, right? So they'll come and say, oh, we should do A, B, or C. You know, I did the research. Here's a few options we could do. And I'll always ask them, well, what do you think we should do? Right. And they'll be like, oh, well, I just giving you the information. Like you decide. I'm like, no, you should come with, you know, I think B is the way to go because, you know, this is how I feel and this is the information, but still present it, right? Still present all three, but come with a recommendation, come with suggestions. So that kind of shows your critical thinking of like, what do you think? You know, what is your take on this situation? And then the last one I would say is relationship building, right? So really being able to, you know, not necessarily build the number of people, you know, like, of course, it's good to know a lot of people, but, you know, not to have like surface level relationships just to have a number of followers or connections, but actually take time, right? Understand, you know, who these people are, you know, what their interests are, how you could potentially work together, and just how you can champion each other, right? Because sometimes it's not necessarily you're working together at a company or a project, you might not be able to help each other, but you know, if I see you trying to build a business, I could support you, I could buy from you, I could share your stuff and vice versa, right? So I have a lot of relationships through my work that I've done. Even, I mean, that's probably how I got here is because I did a workshop with somebody and they kind of like, you know, talked about it. So, you know, building relationships and keeping people, you know, in your network is a big one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say, right? Like building a network, but not surface, like actually building people that know you, that you can pick up the phone for a variety of different reasons and have a conversation and either help you problem solve a problem, right? Or really use as a sounding board. And that's what I think is just so important around these conversations even. And for the young leaders that are in this session, right? Taking the time and getting to know some of you as panelists because you are a network waiting to happen in their world. So I think that that's really exciting. David, I want to ask you as well, what skills, because you've had an incredibly successful career as well. What skills have been really important for you in navigating your career?
Yeah, that's a very important question. When it comes to skill, I would say it's just being able to say yes to pain. So when you're growing, growth comes from pain. When I say pain, is saying yes to a new challenge that you don't know how, and then going out and figuring out how to solve that problem, or going into unknown territory with some risk involved and just embracing uncertainty. So that's something that I would say has been a constant in my life from, you know, when I got let go from my job during the pandemic, I was like, okay, instead of getting that job, I'm just going to go start my own business again. Or when I was in university and most of my colleagues were just focused on their school, I decided I was going to go run a business, painting houses in minus 40-degree weather, knocking on doors. So that was like very painful, but I learned a lot of skill. The second one is just taking action. So what are the especially imperfect actions. So sometimes I don't know where things will lead to. I don't have the full answer, but I focus on what's just the next thing to do. What's the next step? What's the next step? And I don't look at the end or the far destination where I want to go. And as they always say, you know, the journey of 1,000 steps begin with one step, right? So I just take that step with the belief that as long as I focus on the next thing in front of me, what's ahead will take care of itself. So the ability to be open to taking on pain and discomfort and living with that and being confident with that. And even at some level, once you get to some level, is embracing that, wanting the pain, wanting the discomfort, because you know something good will come out of that. I think that's very pivotal to success. And number two, like I said earlier on, is just taking that first step of action and just believing in the fact that things will work itself out. And even if things don't work itself out and it's painful, well, you embrace that pain and you live for that pain. And amazing things will come from that. Personal growth, doors will be unlocked that you didn't know existed because you took that action and you believed in the fact that you will figure it out along the way. So running a business is almost like, you know, flying an airplane and building the airplane while you're flying it. And that is very uncomfortable. It's very, very sometimes just very disorienting. But once you get used to it, you start to enjoy the ride and amazing things start to happen from that journey.
Yeah, David, sometimes that uncomfortableness allows you to learn and grow, not only gain insights, but gain some new skills and go, okay, hang on, what am I going to do? How am I going to
Yep.
figure this out? Face some of those fears and shift your horizon a little bit as you're taking some of those steps. So thank you. Really,
Absolutely.
really important steps around looking at a situation, and uncomfortableness is about pushing yourself and really starting to flex yourself in a different way. So I love that. Your career has ebbed and flowed. And I think that that's just really, really exciting, because sometimes when we're just embarking on our career, we think, okay, I have to make this big decision right now, and here's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And yours has not been that journey. So what has influenced your career decisions, and what have been the skills you've gained along the way?
So for myself, it always goes back to just mainly my passion, what I like to do. So I kind of focused on, in a sense, auditing myself and figuring out what I was good at, what I wasn't good at, and what I wanted to be good at. And once I did that audit, I realized, okay, I want to help people. I'm good at some, technical things. And then seeing how I can kind of marry everything together. And then from that, I kind of just focus on skill development. So again, that self-studying, self-teaching, learning to code, taking in tons of marketing content and being almost obsessed over it. And then once I actually fell in love and I immersed myself in what I was doing, I'm like, you know what, maybe I need to seek higher education, because again, I can't teach myself everything. Again, I love learning. So after that, definitely pursued education a little bit more, just to complement what I already had in terms of my skill set. And in terms of just the skills, it's just focusing on upskilling. I'm very big on upskilling, especially because trends in the market changes so often. So whenever I hear of like new techniques, new tools, new resources, I'm very quick to want to learn about it, because again, things are always evolving and things are always innovating, and it's important to stay up to date. So for me, that's kind of what I mainly focus on. But it's really important, I think, to really immerse yourself, even if you're not in say the career that you want to be in. Try to immerse yourself in there. And that's something as simple as volunteering. Volunteer, see how you feel in the space, see how you love it. And then if you do, and if the space feels right, then I suggest, maybe seeking higher education or continuing on with that career choice. So
yeah, I think that that's so important, because sometimes we think that we've got to go, great, we're going to graduate high school, then we got to go on to post-secondary, and like here's sort of the rhythm, A through C or A through Z. And that isn't necessarily where careers are pointing right now, right? And I know that we've talked a bit about trades and about doing it your own way, but that upskilling and learning and pushing yourself to go, okay, where do I really need to hone in? What am I learning on my own? And then do I need some formal education or certification or diploma to go alongside with that? So really, thanks for sharing that, because it's not always this clear path. Tosin, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much for those packed answers with so much to learn. Just like Tracy said, excited it's being recorded. It'll be great, and I encourage you to go back to maybe pull up a few things that you've heard here and there with the audience. So anyways, moving on to the next set of questions. Super excited for this set of questions, and this is to all the panelists. So let's jump back in time. When you were going to school or just starting your career, what options did you explore for life after high school? So maybe we'll start with Kareem.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So let's see. So high school, I'm laughing because the lifelong learning aspect is key. Because when I finished high school, I was just like, I was done with school. I was like, okay, I'm done high school. I'm gonna get a job now. I'm gonna work. Like I gotta get some money, you know. So I worked at Future Shop. I don't know if that's still around, but it's kind of like the Best Buy of today, right? So I worked in basically just like stocking the back, like bringing out the, doing carry outs, bringing out the TVs, doing all of that stuff. So I started working there, and then I started working at another place called Office Place, which is similar to Staples, and that was office furniture delivery essentially. So I had to, whenever somebody bought like this huge desk, I had to go up and I had to bring it down, and I had to do the carry outs and all of that. And actually, one time I was coming down the ladder, and it was me and another guy carrying this huge desk because these things are heavy, they're in boxes. And I tripped and I almost fell, like the desk almost like fell on me. And in my head, I was like, this is not for me. Like, I don't like all the things Nunu said. Like, I'm not interested in this. I don't really like it. I just kind of had like a moment. I was like, is this really what I want to do? And at that point, I did it. I decided I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna go back to school. And when I went back to school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. But I signed up for business because I was interested in business. And then that's how I started more of like the post-secondary education. And I went to, okay, so part of that story is I went to Seneca, wasn't really sure, so I took business. And then when I was at my third year, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm done college now, right? And when I went to see my guidance counselor, he was like, well, your grades are pretty good, so you can go to Ryerson, because we have like a joint program where instead of doing 4 years, you can only do 2 years, and then you'll have a degree. And then and yeah, and that was just like totally random, and I ended up doing that. So I ended up going to Ryerson, learning more about entrepreneurship, more about marketing, um, and then I started my career in marketing after that.
Oh, wow.
So
No, that sounds great. So I mean, what influenced your decisions? What influenced your decisions the most?
yeah, I would say like definitely family and friends, right? Like that social influence is very important. So that's, to have a good circle around you is important as well. Um, but I would say interests as well, right? Like I knew I was into more like computers. I knew I was more into business. So, when I had a taste of working and I realized like I'm not really interested in this type of work, then I kind of went more in the direction of where I thought my skills and interests um, would be like fostered. And yeah, and then it ended up happening.
Oh, wow. So yeah, the final question for you would be, what options do you wish you had explored? That's an interesting question. So if you weren't doing tech effect, which one of those options would you?
Yeah, so I would have I wish I would have explored entrepreneurship earlier in general, right? Like just starting a business and simultaneously while going to school, making, doing something on the entrepreneur side. But I would say if I had to really go back, right, skilled trades would be one, right? Because I'm a homeowner, right? And when I have to fix something, I'm on
Yes.
YouTube all day, because now like I wish I knew how to do some of this stuff, like not like super advanced, but at least enough to, as a homeowner. And then the other part that kind of goes along with that is finances and taxes,
Mm.
right? Because that's another big area too, in terms of like just financial literacy and financial knowledge. So though I feel like if I had to go back, I might choose one of those two areas to sharpen my skills a little bit more in.
Awesome. Awesome. No, I mean, a lot of people can probably relate to the skills around the house and all those fixes here and there. Thanks. So yeah, we'll move on to Nunu. Nunu, so what options did you explore for life after high school?
So I went to university and did a horrible job because it was the first time I had freedom. So it was the first time, and I picked the wrong time to start skipping and just, doing foolishness. So obviously that didn't pan out. So I ended up working. And what ended up happening was I was working with a woman just like me, who looks like me, a Black woman, and she had a business, and I was responsible for everything. That is the marketing, the staff, the finance, just everything. So I was exposed to entrepreneurship, and that I think was really the catalyst to my whole career choice and where I went. because I fell in love with pretty much most of the aspects. Like the people managing wasn't that fun, very stressful. But I think being responsible for making sure that we're being seen online, and we're doing the advertising, we're showing up at TIFF and all of these different places was really exciting for me. So the marketing aspect, the making sure that digitally we're everywhere, just I think that exposure to seeing somebody that looks like me in Yorkville, and having a business there, and a successful one, made me feel like, you know what, I can do this as well. I should try, right? And I think that was what really, like I said, pushed me to start entrepreneurship. And then from there, I started my first business, which is called Rare. It is a beauty-based business. And then from Rare, I realized I don't want a business where I have physical products, because physical products tend to perish. So then I realized I prefer to have something that's intangible, something that I can just sell with just my mind, which is where I started Bizly, which was my marketing company, which is what I focus on when I'm not doing anything BEA related. So that's kind of the trajectory of life. And yeah, so started off school, and then of course I did go back to school once I kind of figured out and wisened up a little bit, but that was kind of the trajectory. It's like I failed, went into work, fell in love with the type of work I was doing, and then decided to try it out for myself.
Awesome. Thank you. So, you pretty much answered our second question, which is what really influenced your decisions going on. So I'll skip to the next question, which is what options would you have loved to explore? What
Just
options?
like Kareem said, 100% entrepreneurship. I would have started that way before, just because, again, like the freedom is amazing, but it's just the amount of learning that you gain from being an entrepreneur, because you wear so many hats. So you have to learn everything. So 100%. And of course, like the payout's nice too, depending on what sector you're in. Yeah, 100% entrepreneurship. I even try to push my siblings. I'm like, what are you guys good at? Let's start a business, but doesn't go as planned, but definitely 100% entrepreneurship.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So yeah, we'll move on to David. David, what options did you explore for life after school?
I would say marketing and sales. Those are universal skills that will always be valuable anywhere. If you know how to market, you can sell anything. You can sell yourself, for starters. You can sell an idea, you can work for somebody. So I would say marketing, and specifically more accessibly, is digital marketing. How do you run paid ads? How do you generate leads? How do you get your offer in front of somebody who doesn't know you yet and build that trust? How do you craft an offer that is compelling? So and then sales is also an important one. So sales is one of the very first things I learned actually right after going out of high school, going to university. How do you sell? And it's scary to learn how to sell. But once you get that skill, you have it for life. And of course, you can always improve and grow and be better at it. But if you can sell, you can work for anybody. You can, like, there's tons of sales jobs. You can make so much money, and you can work in many industries. So those skills are universal. So I would say those are the two things that are probably like the most critical skills to learn. There are other ones, for example, learning how to software, and like how to build things with software. So Naval Ravikant, one of my favorite there's a philosopher. He says, the two things you want to learn: either learn how to build something or learn how to sell something. If you learn both of those, you'll be unstoppable. Meaning that if you can build stuff, then there are different levels of building stuff. There's building a business, which is a big one, and there's like being able to build a software, being able to build an offer, being able to build a marketing campaign. So I would say those are the two core skills, and those will naturally just evolve into entrepreneurship if you are interested in that. And you don't have to be interested in entrepreneurship, but being able to sell and to build things are absolute critical skills.
Awesome. So yeah, what options would you have explored if you weren't doing what you're doing right now?
What options I would just be a salesperson. Yes, sales has just kind of like my area of, I just love talking to people. I love energy of people. I love relating to people. So for me, sales just fits perfectly writing. Otherwise, perhaps it'd be a writing. I think writing again is a form of sales, but communicating via writing is something that I think is a very, very strong skill. So those would probably be the things I would have done. Mostly sales. I did have some sales experience. I just wanted to like expand beyond sales. So sales would have been something that I would have been basically do if not entrepreneurship.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks, David. Yeah, Kaiser, we'll turn it over to you now. What were the options that you explored for life after high school?
What options would I explore after high school, or what options would I have explored?
Yep. What options did you explore for life after high school? So after high school, what were the things you really wanted to do? Were you thinking, construction immediately, or was there maybe sports or something you really wanted to do after high school before you got to this pathway you're at right now?
Yeah, for sure. I actually was really into sports at that time, so I actually had a scholarship for basketball to go to Michigan State a Division II school. But obviously, I was young. I was in grade 9 and already playing with like the grade 12s, the senior team and stuff, and then got the scholarship. But then my mom was like, I was too young, so she didn't let me go. So that was kind of like a burner that hurt for a little bit. But after high school, I was kind of like really lost. Like I'll be straight up honest. I worked at McDonald's, I worked at restaurants, I worked at telecommunication companies. And I think going to telecommunication companies and talking on the phone all day, repeating the same thing, rebuttaling, and all of this was like kind of what really made me wake up to my life and be like, you know what, like I really got to figure something out. So I actually went to school for police foundations, to be honest. I went to Durham College. But then again, like what Nuni was saying, it wasn't my thing. It was like it wasn't agreeing with me, you know what I mean? So I just kept on. I tried mechanics actually. That's how I learned how to do mechanics actually. Yeah, so it's just being able to like fix my own car and do certain work on it. I can do on my own. So it was kind of really tough, to be honest. It was just navigating through where I was going in life, like who I was. Just at that moment, I was trying to really figure out who I am really inside. Um, and it was a journey in a sense where um like discovering and trying to figure out who you are was kind of like tough, because not everybody kind of like is on the same path you're on. So when I did want to get into construction, but I was shut down right away from my parents. They're like, oh, no way, this is not a job for a female. How long can you do it for? Can you do it for the rest of your life, and all these things? So there's a lot of discouraging there. But yeah, either I just, I really wanted to get into sports, and I really knew that I did like really, really working with my hands.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, no, that's very interesting. So the next question is, what influenced your decisions? What mostly influenced your decisions, exploring the career path that you have right now?
So I decided that I would just drive through neighborhoods and stuff, and I would see buildings and stuff being going on, and I realized that my heart would beat for it. I would stand there and watch for like 10-15 minutes and just watch them build, and I'm like, you know what, this is what I really want to do. I want to build. I want to be I want to be able to put this structure up together. There's something that's so satisfying when you're able to create a structure that especially people can live in, you know what I mean? So I walked onto a job site one day and I just literally said, hey, listen, I want to learn this. I don't even care about the pay. It's not about the money for me. Just give me experience and let me get my foot into the door. So like I said, I explored framing for quite some time. That's where I learned the bulk of my stuff. And then I excelled my experience, like you were saying, right? Always make sure you're ahead of the game. I learned how to read the blueprint, which is very important. I think that's what set me apart and took me from that general labor position to now being a general contractor. So Reading blueprints was like really important for me. And I know you didn't ask me this question, but one thing I really wish I really studied in high school, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but they never really taught us this in depth, but it's like financing, budgeting, how to spend your money, how to where to put your money, how to invest in your money. Um, um, and just doing things by the book when it comes to the government and your business and stuff like that. So I really wish I did a lot of like when it comes to finances, really knowing a lot about that. And tech would definitely be something that I would get into if I wasn't in construction.
Yeah, that's absolutely my third question, and you answered it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. We're going to move on because we want to hear from the young leaders in the space. So we're going to move on to a Slido question. So we want to hear from you. What, after hearing about all of these dynamic, incredibly diverse careers, what careers are you interested in exploring? We're going to go to Slido. Oh no, we're going to ask the young leaders.
Okay, good.
Okay, audience, this is your time. Let us know.
Yeah, what do you well, you know, you got the right answer. You got the right crowd here in the space around entrepreneurship, right? We've got business, tech, robotics, yeah.
Robotics
and AI, lots of it. Project management, cosmetology.
State.
One of our participants added in the chat as well, consultation services. Trading in the financial market, addressing social issues. Oh, look at this. Yeah, lots. Engineering, civil engineering, finance and economics, online business, architecture, fashion.
Intelligence. Okay.
See it to feature. Okay, in the chat.
Yeah, AI, definitely the careers of the future. It's going to be very interesting.
Absolutely.
Wow, neurology. That's somebody. That is impressive. That is way beyond my intellectual capability. So what's most important to you when you're exploring career options? This is a multiple choice one. So we added in this question to find out what's important to you with the young leaders in the session today. Connecting with industry professionals, learning new skills. We're just curious to see what's of most important to you. Learning new skills. Oh, it's moving around a bit. Connecting with industry professionals. You're here. This is a great opportunity. Dylan in the chat has shared expanding knowledge and learning new skills. So thanks for sharing that, Dylan. Learning new skills, connecting with professionals. So we're going to move on to that. We're going to talk about skills and experience right now. So I have a question for each of the panelists, and we've been talking a lot. I want to get a little bit more technical about entrepreneurship, trades, non-traditional careers, because we've been talking about that. What would you like the young leaders to know about entering in careers in these areas? Entrepreneurship, trades, non-traditional careers. What do they need to know? How do they do it? Because like entrepreneurship, it takes guts. It takes courage, guts, opportunity. And so many of you have said, I would have done it earlier. But what do the young leaders need to know in the call right now and in this session about that, or in non-traditional careers? Nunu, I'm going to hand it to you first.
Sure. I think everybody kind of already said that, is that there will be continuous learning. So you have to be ready to dive into whatever it is that you're passionate about, and just be sponge-like and also be coachable. Even myself, at one point, I had this attitude where I thought I knew it all, but clearly I was quickly humbled. So if you learn right off the bat to take in information, learn information, but when people who have been there, done that, tell you something, listen, and be coachable, because you are gonna find that you're gonna find a lot of knowledge, and you don't want to miss out on that kind of information. So
I love it. That's such a great one. Be coachable. And I think we forget about that. Sometimes we're driven and we think we're driving so hard and that we want to get there that we're not necessarily taking in to be coached. So Thanks. Thanks for sharing that. David, how about you?
I would say flexibility. So we do have goals, we have ambitions and things you want to do, but sometimes, in my opinion, reality always slaps you in the face, and you plan things out and things don't pan out. For example, a lot of times, a lot of businesses built a business that did not factor in COVID, and then the pandemic happened. Well, what are you gonna do now? Are you gonna complain and cry and or you're just gonna like, okay, what do we do next? And so I think the ability to be flexible and adaptable is very, very key for success. And sometimes what you start out with is not what you end up with. A lot of successful businesses, or even careers, where something that was planned and things reality change. So being adaptable and flexibility, and that means having the skill. To be adaptable means that you're open to different interpretations of things, and you don't take things too personally. You don't say the world is against me and complain and kick about that, but you say, okay, this is the reality. What do I do next? And I think when you keep asking yourself those questions, you'll find yourself moving forward very well.
Thanks. Yeah, it's really great. Kezia, what do you think? What would you like young leaders to know about entering careers in non-traditional fields and in trades?
Okay, so one of the first things I would say is that when you enter like a field like the skilled trades or anything like that, it's a thing where you have to have the mindset of just being able to be open, being able to be trained and listening to instructions. For me, I think was one of the really important things when learning a lot and getting experience, was really paying attention to instructions and being able to be taught, like Nunu said, just being able to be teachable. Like that's really important, and learning from other people. I think also taking the time out to actually learn and hang out with folks that are already doing what you want to do, in the interest that you're in. So whatever you're passionate about, find somebody who's doing the exact same thing, and go to that extra step of not just being, the mentee or the mentor, or like, just listening or having conversation about it, but actually getting the action, which David spoke about earlier, is putting in the action and being really resilient, again, like I was saying, and going for what you're going for. So just getting in the trades, especially for me and any other business, I feel like you have to be open-minded. You have to be ready to learn lessons. You have to be ready to make mistakes. And kind of carry yourself on, no matter how much you fail, you have to get back up again. So that's one of the things that I stuck to, and just growing in general, right? Just continuously growing within yourself, building yourself internally, mentally, physically, emotionally. You have to be mentally right? And you have to be in the right state of mind, because health is wealth. And you have to definitely gear your mind to become successful.
So much in there. I've taken so many notes. That's just incredible. So thank you for sharing that. Karim, what do you want young leaders to know about entering into a career in entrepreneurship or the trades or non-traditional careers?
Yeah, I think that all the other panelists captured it really, really well. For me, yeah, change is inevitable, right? Like things are gonna change, and how you manage change and how you adapt to change is really, how you proceed towards success. So, for me, I think that one of the piece of advice is to initiate change, right? So kind of like don't really sit back and wait for things to happen. You have to take control, you have to be intentional, you have to be, kind of dictate based on, like, tell people what you're interested in, tell people where you want to go. For me, when I was working in the agency, I started to be interested in public speaking, right? Like I used to go to a lot of conferences, I used to go to a lot of events, and I'm seeing people talk on stage, and I'm like, yeah, I think I could do that. I have the same knowledge. And I kind of had like a hesitation, right? I'm like, well, that's not really my job. But what I did is I told my agency, I'm like, yeah, I wanna do this. And they were actually like, yeah, we can help you. Like we can get you a speaking coach. We can, we can get you in some of these events and stuff like that. So again, just to initiate change. And then if there is change happening that you didn't initiate, is like, how do you manage that? So that was talked about a lot, being persistent, being flexible, things like that. The other thing I would say too is, back on the persistence side of things, is that uh, a no is never really a no. It's just a not right now, right? So like when you think that something should happen, or you pitch an idea, or you don't get the job that you want, it's usually setting you up for learning and being resilient, and just giving you that thick skin, and all of that was talked about earlier. But also, when the opportunities do come, you'll be ready, right? So you'll actually be ready for them, and yeah, they'll just be like more in line with what you want to do. So just don't think about like those no's as negative, right? Learn from them and move on, which is, I think, a sales skill that was mentioned earlier. But yeah, resilience is key. And you know things that are for you will happen at the right time if you just continue with the positive habits, persistence, and trust the process.
Yeah. I love it. I wrote that one down. No equals not right now. And I think that is, that's really insightful, because you can hear a lot of no's, and it's what you do with that, and how you use it to motivate yourself to go about it maybe a different way.
Right.
So,
Tosin, I'm going to toss it back to you.
yeah, so just to kind of add to what Karim said, and is an advice that I also got very early on in my career, is that no means next opportunity. So the NO means next opportunity. In a sales world, you would really be excited to hear a quick no, other than going through the whole sales cadence or the whole sales circle, right? To hear that no after 6 months, because if you heard it in the first month, there's a lot of things you could have put into play throughout that 5 months, right? So I think it's very, very important for us to understand that no's are not really maybe a failure. It just gives you, I see redirection in the chat. I think that was Nunu. And
Yeah.
I really, really subscribe to that. So there's positive sides to even the negative things that we get in entrepreneurship. So thank you so much for sharing that, Karim. So we'll move on to, just, it was a good segue into our next question, which is for all the panelists as well. And it's, what are the barriers and opportunities for young Black leaders and entrepreneurs? So maybe we'll start with Nunu.
So in terms of barriers, elephant in the room, there's limited representation, of course, right? We know that as Black professionals, students, entrepreneurs, there are systemic issues that hopefully we are working towards to fix. And of course, there's also access to capital. So for example, in the tech world, we get maybe 22% of venture capitalist funding. That's it. And women Black founders get 0.6% of that. So of course, there's a lack of representation. And then there's also just a lack of people sometimes funding in our dreams and our passions. In terms of opportunities, I think that where we can probably make the loudest noise is just in the community involvement. Our networks are pretty massive, and if we just kind of work together collectively to push each other and to, I think it was Karim that said to champion each other, I think that things could be a lot different. And there would be a lot more opportunities for everybody else if we just champion each other instead of working in silos.
Great. That's really, really a great answer. And I totally agree with that. David, what do you think? The barriers and the opportunities as a Black leader and a Black entrepreneur.
Well, I think that as Black people, we do have a unique perspective that should be highlighted and championed. I mean, I will speak for myself, and not everybody has a story. But growing up in Nigeria, I that gives me a very unique lens into the world. I mean, I experienced a lot of difficulties in many ways that channel my drive to succeed and succeed because I understand what's on the other side of life, and I've experienced that, and I know for myself I don't want to experience that again. So from a personal point, if you've experienced hardship as a Black person, I mean, everyone can experience hardship, but if you have, I would say channel that and use that as a fuel to get to your goal. So that's always very crucial. And number two is also like see yourself as someone who can open the door for other people. And I think if you don't see yourself as someone who is a victim or who is unfortunate, and you're like, no, I can be the first person in my family to do X. I can be the first person in my friends group to do Y. That just kind of changes your perspective, and that drives you. And I think there's something very cool about being the first in your circle to do something. And I think, we can hold on to that. Otherwise, I would say, aside from those 2 points, like build community and go network with other people who are finding success, regardless of their colors. There's always something to learn from them. And I think that if you combine those learnings from other people who are successful, regardless of their color, and you combine that with your drive and you combine that with your unique perspective of the world, the sky is the limit. And I truly believe that. Not cliche, because I believe that and I continue to believe that. So it's very, very true if you truly live to that ethos.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. Kezia, what do you think?
Yes. Can you repeat? You want to let me say the question again, if you can repeat it for me.
Yeah, so it's just what are the barriers or the opportunities for young Black leaders and entrepreneurs?
I think right now, there should be a lot of opportunity, and this is why like I am in the trades and continue to push on and inspire other women to get into the trades. Because the barriers that I faced, I know that other women may face that as well. Especially when it came to even the pay structure. Like I would be doing the same job as my male co-worker, but he would be getting paid a little bit more than me. You know what? I wasn't gonna let it bring me down, or I wasn't gonna let it deter me from continuing to pursue what I knew was mine and I wanted to attain. So I know now there's a lot of programs, there's a lot of apprenticeships, there's a lot of open doors for women to get into the skilled trades. You know what I mean? Like do your due diligence, go do research. There's a lot of funding and programs out there. And like I said, breaking barriers. I think I've broken that as the first Black female contractor for HGTV Canada. That's a history that I made. They've never had a Black female contractor in 35 years. So I'm so grateful and thankful for that. And speaking of no's, with HGTV, I did have a gig. They hit me up about 2 years ago about something else that they wanted an audition for, and it was a no for me, right? So it's so funny how it came back around and a whole different set of crew with HGTV.
I think we lost Kezia, did we?
I think we did too, but I'm sure she will join us back.
Absolutely. I think I was enjoying that story, but
Me
I think
too.
yeah.
We'll get her to continue it when she gets back.
Yep. So we'll just move on to Kareem. So yeah, what are some of the barriers and opportunities for young Black leaders and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think the biggest barrier is the representation portion. I spoke about speaking before, and that's part of it. Like when I was seeing these people speaking on stage, I was like, I don't see any Black male people speaking. And when I did it too, people would come up to me after and say the same thing. They'd be like, "Oh, can you come speak here?" Because we've never had that like diversity of speaker. But that goes back to like the opportunity of just being a risk taker, and kind of blazing the trail. That's what Keys was talking about. The other barrier I think is just in terms of like um, the systemic aspect of feeling you have to do like double the work, right, to get just that same recognition as someone else. And that's something that I struggled with. Like, I know, like, I felt like, okay, I can't make a mistake. Everything has to be perfect. Like, I have to be, like, I have to look a certain way. I have to, just there's so many of those elements. And again, the opportunity is there is to, you know, I think Nunu talked about like just knowing yourself, like understanding yourself. I think it was like Nunu and Keys mentioned that. So kind of taking a stock of who you are, what you want, and what your value is, right? And just understanding that, you know, I bring value to the table. Right. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was one of the biggest opportunities in the digital space and the mentorship space, in my opinion and research, is knowledge transfer. Right. There is a lot of great information, great programs, great research that has been done by, you know, previous generations or people who were in these spaces before. And what I find is that that gets lost because where those where those research papers and where that information exists is more in a traditional setting, might be in a library, a research lab. Like, it might be, you know, a 40-page research paper. Whereas, you know, now where we take in information is like, you know, social media and like very quick tidbits of information. So in general, if there's a way to, you know, transfer knowledge, share what has been learned before, and how, you know, young leaders can use that to pick up where things have left off, right? It's like you don't really have to start from scratch. And that's what I found when I started doing research and trying to find opportunities. And definitely in terms of communication and means of communication, that's, I believe, a huge opportunity to be able to take that information and share it with, you know, the young leaders of today.
Absolutely, I agree. I think we need to pay more attention, especially in the Black community, with continuity, right? In conversations, you look at so many businesses, and there are not too many Black businesses specifically that you can point out and see that they were established in the 1800s, you know, or the 1900s. So I completely resonate with that, and I think it's our responsibility, even as leaders, young leaders who are going to be in this entrepreneurship space, to kind of carry that on and have that mindset. Thank you so much for sharing, Kareem. Kezia, we lost you, but we were enjoying what you were sharing with us. So we'll just give you some time to round that up, and we'll move over to the next segment.
Yes, sure. Can you guys see me?
Absolutely, we can.
Okay, good. I switched over to my iPad. Okay. So as I was saying, right, being the first Black female contractor to break that barrier, and and to work amongst of crew of people who don't really look like me, you know what I mean, is something that I really thank God and the universe for, because like, being an entrepreneur is something that doesn't just happen overnight. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. So it's you have to grow your business, you have to birth it and nurture it every time. So in everything that we spoke about today, right, it's about really putting in the effort, the real effort into your business, and having all the skills and knowledge. Thank you. Just having all the skills and knowledge that you need to be equipped to operate a business, especially in every career and industry now. There's a lot of new ways of getting ahead of the game, and people are getting there fast. So you have to be able to navigate yourself as well through those environments, you know. So basically, it's like, you know, I'm just thankful for everything. I see no barriers, first of all. From the time I, you know, fell down from that second floor, I realized that, you know, there's something, this is much bigger than me, because for somebody to feel such a way to set a trap for me to fall down, for me to stop what I'm doing now, really showed me that I had to persist and move on, because I did not know it was going to take me to an HGTV production, you know what I mean, where out of 8 episodes, I did 4 of them. They don't know me from nowhere, but they trusted me to do half of the season, and we did major renovations, you know, and they loved everything we did on that. And I'm happy to say that now they want to push and give me my own show, you know. So look at the journey the journey and the persistence in that, right? So I took advantage. I did a lot of, I learned a lot of stuff on my own. I went on job sites, never got paid for it, just because I wanted to understand and see how you do it, you know? So anybody that wants to reach for anything, reach for the stars, you know? Like, don't see no barriers. And and anything that happens, just know it has to be there. There has to be stumbling blocks in order for you to reach higher heights, you know? So, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. I mean, I'm glad you were able to come back because I mean, there's just so much you've shared that I was happy we didn't miss. But thank you so much for sharing. Because
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing. So yeah, I'll hand it over to
Thank you.
yeah, we have the Slido. We have some questions that would like the leaders with us to answer. So yep, what skills and knowledge are needed for your careers, the careers you're exploring? Let's hear your thoughts. Let's see what our audience is thinking.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of skills, upskilling, a lot of different knowledge and from our panelists, right? Around financial literacy, software skills, technology skills, being coachable, volunteering. What are you hearing and seeing that you want to learn more of for the career that you want to pursue? Public speaking, networking. Networking can be intimidating, and this is part of it. I mean, right? Attending something like today is part of networking, getting to know people, listening to perspective, and then pursuing maybe an informational interview and having a conversation with someone. Coaching, software, yeah, critical thinking.
Yep.
Yeah, we heard that from our panelists, right? Like, how are you making those decisions? How are you analyzing? Networking, right? Confidence.
Yep.
Confidence is key.
It is for sure.
Confidence is key.
Emotional intelligence. Yep, that is also key.
Yeah.
Very key.
And
Emotional
adaptability.
intelligence is #1.
Yeah, we heard that, right? I love that Corinne was talking about like change is constant. The only thing constant about change is change, right?
Right.
AI resilience.
Yep. Yep.
Coding.
Cool. Okay.
Mentorship. Love it. I love it. I want everyone to be talking about mentorship because mentorship and apprenticeship is just so important, right? Making those connections, having those conversations, reaching out to people that are doing what you want to do. And we heard that from our panelists as well. Childhood passion. I love it. I love it. Follow some of those passions. Because we spend a lot of time in your day doing your work and doing your job. You got to be passionate about it. And I think that's one of the most incredible things about our panelists today is that they're so passionate. Nunu's talked about she needs some better work-life balance and boundaries, but it's the passion, right? And so that's an important piece. People strive for a change. Love that too. Thank you. Thank you for sharing these. This is important because we're talking about your career. So I want to move on now to networks of support, right? And building social capital, building those connections. And Tosin, I'm going to hand it over to you to start us off.
Yes. So I mean, I think this section is going to help us just, the panelists share how they were able to build some of these networks to help them through, and also, speak about mentorships and the importance of that during the early stages of the career. So I'll start off with Nunu. So how did you build your professional relationships very early in your career, and why did you think it was important?
In terms of my personal relationships, I realized that I had to get myself out there for me to be heard and seen, and for me to be championed, I'd need to champion myself. So it was just a matter of me going in there and just being myself, and whether they vibe with me or not, that was up to them. And just getting myself out there and making sure that if I wanted to learn something, I was connecting with somebody that could potentially teach me something, but also making sure that the relationship is reciprocal. So it's not just me taking from my mentor. It's also me asking, hey, can I help you with something? You know, if they had an event that was coming up, how can I promote? How can I support you? So they can see that this wasn't a one-way relationship. It was a two-way relationship because we're both invested in each other and not just me taking and taking and taking.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. Thank you so much. So we'll move over to David now. So what are some ways that you manage and deepen your professional relationships?
Do you mean more like my colleagues or mentor-mentee, or what context do you think?
I mean, mentor mentee would be great. Even the professional colleagues, whichever insights that you're led to share would be great.
Yeah, I can talk on both sides. So when it comes to professional relationship, just always showing up and outworking everybody else. So wherever you are, you want to be known as the person, guy or girl, who make things happen, who just goes above and beyond. If you do that, you'll have great reputation and everybody's always going to work with you. And more importantly, when there's an opportunity, they'll be like, yeah, call that guy, call that girl, because she always puts it all out there when she works. When it comes to mentee-mentor relationship, one of the biggest mistakes you can do is reach out to a mentor and say, hey, I want to help. I want you to mentor me. I will give you my time. Well, the problem is that your time is not really valuable to them and you don't really have much value to bring to them. And you will most likely never hear from them. So if there's somebody out there, mentor, who you're like, I wish this person could mentor me. They're like, absolutely everything I want to be, and you admire them, whatever. What I'd suggest you doing is go and find a problem you can solve for them or a way you can add value to them. So for example, my mentor, who is an excellent, amazing mentor, one of the best things that have ever happened to me, be him mentoring me. The way I really got myself in his good graces. I mean, he's a great guy, so it's not like he's like gonna say, no, I'm not gonna mentor you, but he's just gonna be like, dude, I just have so much going on. I can't commit to mentoring right now. But the way I got him to mentor him was I learned when in the very, very early days of ChatGPT and when AI came out, I learned how prompt engineering worked. I learned how to use ChatGPT. And then I taught him how to use ChatGPT. And it was blown away. I was like, really? I can do this with this? And then he eventually ended up introducing me to opportunities as a result of me bringing so much value to him. And now we work together. And just based on that relationship alone, I've generated almost $500,000 in revenue just from that relationship. And it was because I brought value to him. Now, you don't have to like know ChatGPT to bring value to people. It could be something simple that you know, like, hey, I can help you learn how to create content for your brand or for your page. Or I can help you redesign your website, or I can do something for you. And don't ask for permission, just go do it and show it to them. And if they don't respond to you, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it and showing it to them. At one point, they'll be like, okay, who is this kid that keeps like, sending me ideas or keep like doing something for me that I didn't request it for. They'll feel so bad that they will actually like, okay, sure, let me give you 5 minutes of my time. And then you obviously have to impress them. But doing things, even when they don't ask you, things that will obviously add value to them is the best way to get the attention of a mentor, because it's worked well for me. So if you think that, just saying, hey, can you mentor me? And you think that because you ask, you will get, I mean, in most cases you will, but when it comes to finding a mentor, usually that doesn't work, because your mentor, there's a reason why you want them to be a mentor. They're very impressive. They're very busy. They have all this amazing, cool things going on. The best way to get your attention is just to bring value and don't expect anything too. So don't think that because you're giving them ideas or you're building content for their website or whatever it is you're doing, that they owe you something. No, they don't owe you something. You are just trying to add enough value to them to hopefully show them that you mean business and you truly want to help them reach their goals. And forget the expression, all ties lives when everyone, when you help people, they will lift you as you help lift them as well. So that's kind of like a little hack there of getting the mentor. Pick your target and find out how can I add value to them, and go do it. Keep doing it until you get a response. I rest my case.
Yeah, I love that as well, because that asking for a mentor, right, and asking someone for their time is just so important. And it is a two-way street, but also it's about what you're getting, right, and out of it, but what you're contributing. And I think that those are really important things when we're exploring mentorship. I'm paying close attention to time, and I want to make sure that we've got enough time for some of our young people to ask some questions. So I'm going to move us along. But what I want to know from you, Kezia, is what is one key tip for young people entering careers and exploring key pathway or career pathways that you'd like to leave with them?
Okay, the one key that I want to leave for everybody is just be a good person, be transparent, be honest, and show your interest. Showing your interest in something, like exactly what David was explaining, is what will propel any employer or any candidate to really look at you and say, you know what, let me spend some of my time training this person, teaching this person, or mentoring this person. And just like I said, consistency and resilience, it's the number one key for me. Just being persistent, not giving up, and just making sure that you connect with the right people. Your network is your network. You know what I mean? So you grow as much as the people that are around you. So that's teachers, mentors, just any type of training at all, and just staying focused on the goal, which is to, you know, grow your business and to grow it into the capacity that that you desire. So just staying focused and just never giving up, never giving up. That's the key to all of this. Quitting will never take you there, right? So it's just being persistent and just going for what you go for, and one day it will pay off. You will harvest the fruits of your labor.
I love it. I love it. Those were a lot of tips, and I'm so glad we're recording. Those are a lot of tips there. Kareem, what's one tip you would like to share with the young leaders and our attendees today when they're entering a career, exploring career pathways?
Yeah, so I would say it's to take risks, take risks and challenge the status quo. Right. So again, there's systems in place, there's a way people do things, there's kind of structure and processes out there when you enter into like a new space or a new industry or a new company. And yeah, I always find that looking for ways to improve what's already there, it doesn't necessarily mean it's broken, right? So for example, when I was in marketing, they had manual reports, right? And I worked with the engineer to create automated reports, and that saved a whole bunch of time for the company.
Yeah.
So looking for like new ways to do things and challenging the status quo, and just sharing your ideas and putting things out there to initiate change. I'll leave it with that. And yeah, celebrate your wins as well, right? Celebrate your wins.
Yeah, and whether they're big or small, hey, like those are right. It's movement, and I think that that's an important one for us to keep in mind, because we can lose sight of that. That the small wins are important wins as well. They're not always going to be big moves.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Nunu, what's a tip you would like to leave with the young leaders in the session today?
Knock on doors, make those connections, find people you want to connect with, and just really make your own opportunities. The worst they can say is no, and you already know that. So knock on those doors. Like if there is something that you want to do and someone can possibly help you, the easiest thing you can do is ask. And if they say no, okay, on to the next one. Because not all of them are going to say no. Eventually something's going to catch, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And David, how about you?
So I truly believe this, and this has really worked well for me, that whatever it is you want is already in existence. So if for example, if financial wealth is your goal, there's already money out there. It's just in someone's pocket, right? And the question is, well, what do I do to get rid of what's between me and what I want? Okay, then let's reverse engineer that process. How do I make money? Well, I need a job, whatever it is. So if you come with that mindset of abundance, that whatever it is I want, job opportunities, career growth, whatever it is already out there in existence, there's no less of that thing, which means I can't get it. It's already there for me. I just need to figure out a way to navigate what's between me and that thing then all of a sudden the world becomes a place of abundance. Where even if you hear no, like many of my partners have said, you're like, oh yeah, my money's in someone's pocket. I just have to find that someone and get the money from their pocket, of course, legally. So I think coming from a place of abundance and believing that what you truly want is out there becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and then you eventually will get it. And that has played out in my life over and over and over again.
I like that. The word abundance. That's a good one instead of deficit, right? And scarcity. I love that. I want to open it up. We're almost at time. I want to give a couple of minutes to our young leaders that are sitting in the session today to either take yourself off mute and ask some questions, or ask a question in the chat, and we can socialize it with our panelists. But I want to give you an opportunity to ask our panelists some questions.
Ask away, guys. Ask away. We spend all our time here for you guys, so you guys can just ask away.
Yeah, absolutely. If someone's got a question, we'd love to hear from you. While we're waiting for a question, I'm gonna ask one final one, and I'll just open it up to anyone on the panel that would like to ask or answer this one. What's the best advice you've ever received that either impacted your education or your career pathway journey? Best advice that you can pay it forward with to our young leaders.
Any mistakes can be reversed as long as it doesn't land you in jail. So go. Even then, potentially just a much tougher climb. But most people are scared of making mistakes because they don't want to look stupid, they don't want to look dumb, or they don't want to lose their money or something. But I would say embrace mistakes. Most mistakes can be reversed. And, if most times, it won't be that bad. It won't be as bad as you think. So be willing to, move quickly, break things. And in that process, you will find your path. And that path comes through mistakes for sure.
It's a great one. Thank you. Thanks, David. I'm going to ask our young leaders, if you don't have a question, we're going to jump over into Slido again. So what will you start in the next 2 weeks? Like, we have heard a lot of great perspective, a lot of motivating opportunities. So we'll jump over in there, but we do have a question from one of the young leaders in the call. So what's a quote that has stuck with you to this day? So I'll open that up to the panel as well, and let each of you answer that, or whoever wants to jump in.
Yeah, I think one for me is, a colleague said this to me that I was working with, and she said, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. Right? So it's important to explore a lot of different options, but you have to take action at some point. So, there's a lot of things out there. So you can, anything you put your mind to, you can do it, but you have to kind of decide which direction you want to go in. Because, trying to do too many things is not going to get you where you want to go.
Love it. That's a great one, right? Because sometimes we try and do too much and not necessarily go deep, right?
Right.
Any other of the panelists have a quote, David? Oh, I think that then we'll come to you.
No, go ahead.
So for me, it's a quote. It's the difference between your dreams and reality is called action, which is why I'm really into knocking on doors, because you can't get to your dreams unless you take those steps. So that's my favorite quote. I have it everywhere.
Love it. Thank you. David, I know you want to jump in.
So this one is a little, Casey. No, go ahead. I've done some talking. Please go.
No, mine's is really short though. Mine's is just pretty simple, and it's just something that I've always held in me. Like, it's not like it's something that I've read, like, and it's seek. As long as you seek, like, you will find. So always just continue seeking and continue seeking to grow, continue seeking knowledge, continue seeking advice, guidance, all of that. And as much as you continue doing that, doors will by all means open for you.
Yeah, that's a great one. Mine is very simple, and everyone has probably heard it, but it's very important to mention it. Readers are leaders. A lot of people, they expect to be spoon-fed, and the education system will feed you stuff. But if you really want to take things to the next level, you gotta take the initiative to read. And we're in a beautiful world where information is so abundant, and you're the only one stopping yourself from learning, basically. And if you want something, if you want to learn how to write code, if you really want to learn how AI works, because that's a new thing now, just go read. Like, there's tons of information out there. And if you read, you're going to be a leader. It's just as simple as that.
Love that. I love that. That's really great. Michaela also added in the chat, when your mind is a weapon, you are never unarmed, right? Malcolm X, and so many powerful words from that man. So fabulous. So
Amazing.
we are almost at time, but I just saw a new question come up in the chat. So the question is, just hang on, sorry, I'm just scrolling back up because I don't want to miss it from Joe. Joe, I'm gonna ask one of them. How do you manage the fear and uncertainty of self-employment? Because I think that one's a big one, right? We talked a little bit about fear. And so I'm going to hand it over to Karim, first of all.
Yeah, I mean, faith, right? Faith and determination, persistence is a key, but I would say upskilling is the key, right? When you have the skills, you'll be in demand, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're on the career side of things. So that's what I believe. If you have a skill, you should be able to either do it on your own in your own business, or if there's a company or organization that needs that skill as well, you can kind of tiptoe between either or opportunities. So keep your skills sharp, and then you'll be able to demand market rate clients, and overcome.
Love it. I love it. Nunu, how about you?
So should I answer the first part? Did you begin?
Oh, sure, you certainly can. It's a question to the panel. I don't want to limit people.
In terms of so I'm a really big believer in writing things down. So the very first thing is, when I want to do something, is I just write it down. I call it a brain dump. It's a brain dump. Everything that's in your mind, put it on paper. Eventually you will see some patterns, and from those patterns you can start to transfer them into actual plans. Depending on what you're doing, you can start with a lean business plan or even a lean professional plan that's going to highlight key things that you need to get to whatever level it is that you're trying to get to. So I'm a huge believer in, don't just dive in, especially if it is something career-wise. It's plan it out, write everything down, and then start getting to the next level.
Love it. Thank you. I'm just looking in Slido as well. We've got some really great next 2-week plans on how the young leaders are going to pursue their goals. And so I want to encourage you not just to throw that out there and put it up in Slido, but to actually, stop for crowd. I love how bold that is. Because that's really, one of the themes that I've heard from this panel is go do it, go make it happen, open doors, push yourself, take the courage, be uncertain. Don't worry about thinking that you're don't have an answer, don't have anything to contribute. So I want to take some time and just thank you as panelists. I could keep going for another hour. There's so many questions I want to ask you, and I think there's so much to garner. Maybe we'll get to do a part 2.
That's what I'd say. Let's do a part 2.
Well, we're gonna talk to BBPA. Thank you again to the panelists. Thank you to the young leaders on the call. We've got a couple questions about the experience and would love your opinion on that. And also want to hear what you'd like next. Tosin, anything else you want to share as we round out the last 2 hours? I can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a breeze, and thank you guys so much for sharing so much of this knowledge, and also the journeys that you've been on. I can't wait to see how much more growth we'll be speaking about the next time that we have this session or opportunity to have this. So thank you so much for sharing with the audience. And I hope that some of the leaders that we have picked up a thing or two that you'll be applying to your career, to your selection of the choices that you want to make. So good luck with that, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, BBPA, for partnering with us again at Mentor Canada. These conversations, I leave so motivated and sometimes feel like I'm an underachiever with our panelists, because they really are change makers. So thank you. Thank you for carving the path for young Black leaders, because there are so many opportunities for them, giving them the courage and the opportunity to connect with you. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. For the young leaders, please fill in on Slido. We'd love to hear, as we plan with BBPA, more sessions like this, what you'd like to learn about, what other sessions and what other themes you'd like. Again, to Kareem, David, Kezia, and to Nunu, thank you. Thank you for taking the time tonight and sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your insights, and your stories around vulnerability as well. That is what makes mentoring so rich, and having really authentic mentoring conversations. So again, thank you to everyone. We are recording this session. We will give you this, it'll get sent to you through BBPA. We have some resources as well on finding your next mentor and seeking career mentoring advice as well. And we've documented the podcasts, the books, the shows, all the advice and the quotes. So we're going to send those out your way as well. So thank you, everybody, and have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything.
It was a pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.